The forest was silent, except for the pounding of paws against the cold, wet earth. Somewhere ahead, a 2-year-old child was alone in the dark, and the only one who could find her wasn't human. This is the unbelievable true story of how a German shepherd named Rex tracked a missing toddler for 6 miles through a dangerous forest, and brought her home alive. Before we begin, what time is it where you are right now? And where in the world are you watching from? Drop your answer in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you love incredible real-life animal hero stories, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because you won't want to miss what's coming next. The day began with the kind of peace that makes you believe nothing bad could happen. Pine Hollow's sky was an unbroken sheet of blue, the air crisp with the first breath of autumn. In the Carter family's backyard, 2-year-old Lily toddled through the grass, her small hands gripping a bright red ball. The sunlight caught in her blonde curls as she giggled and rolled it toward the fence. Inside, her mother Emily stood at the kitchen counter, stirring a pot of vegetable soup. She could see her daughter from the window, Lily chasing the ball, tripping over her own tiny feet and laughing. Emily smiled, turned to grab the salt, and let the warmth of the moment wrap around her. When she looked back, the yard was empty. At first she thought Lily might have dropped behind the garden shed. "Lily?" she called, expecting the girl to pop out with a smile. No answer. She stepped outside, brushing her hands on her apron. "Sweetheart? Where are you?" Her voice was light, but her pace quickened. She checked behind the shed. Nothing. She glanced under the porch. Empty. A quick trip inside revealed the laundry room was still and silent. A knot formed in her chest. "Lily?" she called again, louder this time. No giggle, no answering call. Within minutes she was on the phone to 911, her voice trembling. "My daughter's missing. She was right here in the yard, and now she's gone." Word spread fast in Pine Hollow. Neighbors arrived within 10 minutes, flashlights in hand. Some headed toward the gravel road, others fanned out into the woods. Shouts echoed, "Lily, Lily, it's Mommy's friends. Call out, honey." The woods loomed at the edge of the property, dense pines, tangled brush, and deer trails that twisted in every direction. Everyone in town knew how quickly a person could get turned around in there. And as the sun dropped toward the horizon, those shadows would only deepen. By 2:03 p.m., the first patrol car rolled in. Officer Mark Daniels stepped out, scanning the yard. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his uniform crisp, but what drew everyone's eyes was the dog that leapt from the back seat of his SUV. Rex was a German shepherd, 6 years old, with sharp, intelligent eyes that missed nothing. He had a reputation. Lost hikers, missing children, even fugitives. If Rex took the trail, he brought it back. Emily clutched Lily's pink fleece jacket, her knuckles white. She knelt to hold it out, tears welling. "Please, find her." Daniels crouched beside Rex. "You hear that, buddy? Find Lily." The shepherd pressed his nose to the soft fabric, inhaled deeply, and stilled. His tail rose slightly, his stance shifted forward, and his gaze locked on the shadowed wall of trees. Without hesitation, he began to pull toward the forest. In his mind there was no question, no doubt, only a mission. Somewhere out there, a child scent waited to be followed, and Rex intended to follow it until the end. The moment Rex's paws crossed from trimmed grass into the forest floor, the world seemed to change. The light dimmed instantly, swallowed by a canopy of pine and oak. The air cooled, carrying the sharp scent of damp earth, rotting leaves, and the faint sweetness of wild mushrooms. Officer Daniels let out the slack in the lead, allowing Rex to weave ahead. The German shepherd's nose skimmed the ground, tail stiff with concentration. Every few feet, his head would lift, ears flicking at some sound too faint for human ears, before dropping back to the trail. Behind them, the search party's voices called Lily's name, each echo fainter than the last. Soon, there was nothing but the crunch of Daniel's boots and the steady huff of Rex's breathing. Out here, in the maze of trunks and shadows, the forest muffled everything. Daniels knew better than to question Rex's choices. The dog didn't follow a straight line. He zigzagged, paused, doubled back a few steps, then surged forward again. Each movement meant something. Scent particles stronger in this patch, weaker in that one, the ghost of Lily's steps still clinging to the ground. A squirrel darted across their path, its claws scratching over bark as it climbed a tree, but Rex barely flicked an ear. He was locked in. They came to a shallow creek. Daniels tested the stones before stepping in, but cold water still soaked through his boots, numbing his toes. Rex crossed in 3 sure-footed leaps, then waited on the far bank, glancing back as if to say, "Come on, we can't lose time." The forest floor sloped upward into a narrow ridge. At the top, the last threads of daylight slipped through the branches, painting the ground in long, skeletal shadows. Daniel spotted something, a faint print in the mud. Small. Bare. His pulse spiked. He crouched to look closer. The toes were splayed slightly, the heel barely pressed in, exactly how a toddler might walk barefoot over soft ground. "She was here, boy," Daniels murmured. Rex's ears twitched at his voice, but the shepherd didn't need confirmation. He surged forward, his lead pulling tight, his body low and his pace quickening. The scent trail was stronger now, fresher. Daniels felt his own heartbeat match the rhythm of Rex's strides. The forest seemed to grow darker with each step. Mist rose from the ground in soft curls, wrapping around tree trunks like pale ribbon. The flashlight beam caught it, scattering into a ghostly glow that only made the shadows feel deeper. Then Rex stopped dead. His entire body went rigid, one paw frozen mid-step, nose lifted to the air. His ears swiveled forward and a low rumble vibrated in his chest. Daniels froze, scanning the darkness. Somewhere ahead something moved. Not the wind. Not Lily. It was heavier. Closer. Watching. The beam of Daniel's flashlight swept through the mist, carving pale arcs in the dark. Then it stopped, caught on something that didn't belong to the trees. 2 amber orbs hovered low to the ground, glowing faintly, unblinking. Rex's growl deepened, vibrating through the lead. The fur along his spine rose in a rigid crest. Daniels tightened his grip instinctively. He knew those eyes. A coyote. It stepped forward silently, its lean frame sliding from behind a tree, paws placing each step without a sound. Its nose twitched, testing the air. Daniels could almost feel its calculation. What was this strange pair in its territory? Could they be driven off? Or hunted? Rex didn't wait for the animal to decide. He planted himself squarely between Daniels and the predator, his front legs braced, teeth glinting white in the weak light. Then from the left came another rustle, the sound of something brushing past tall grass. Daniels swung the flashlight toward it, and froze. Another set of eyes gleamed back at him. 2 coyotes. Daniels' mind worked fast. Coyotes were opportunists, and a lone toddler in the woods was the perfect target. If Lily was anywhere near here, they could already be tracking her. His stomach tightened. The lead in his hand went taut as Rex's growl rose into a sharp, snapping bark that echoed off the trees. The sound was loud enough to make the hair on Daniel's arms stand on end. The first coyote flinched but didn't run. Rex took a single, deliberate step forward. His voice exploded into another bark, deep, resonant, the sound of an animal that would not yield ground. His teeth flashed in the beam of the flashlight, his body leaning forward like a drawn bow. The coyotes hesitated, ears flicking back. The second bark was followed by a low, rolling snarl that seemed to say, "Come closer and you'll regret it." The nearest coyote shifted its weight back, then turned, melting into the mist. The other lingered a moment longer before following, both vanishing as silently as they'd appeared. Daniels exhaled slowly, tension leaking out of his shoulders. "Good boy, Rex. You just saved us both." But Rex wasn't celebrating. He didn't even glance back for praise. His head swung toward the right, nostrils flaring as he tested the air again. Something had shifted. The scent trail was stronger. Daniels recognized the change instantly. He'd seen it in Rex before, that moment when a tracker knew they were close. The shepherd began to move again, faster now, ears forward, tail level. Daniels followed, his flashlight bobbing with each step, catching glimpses of fog, bark, and shadows that danced away from the light. The encounter with the coyotes had cost them time, but Rex was making it up. Every stride felt urgent. Every second mattered. Somewhere ahead, beyond the mist, was Lily, and Rex was pulling them toward her like an arrow toward its mark. The forest seemed to hold its breath after the coyotes vanished. Only the faint rustle of leaves and the soft thud of Rex's paws broke the silence. His head was low again, nose sweeping the ground in quick, precise arcs. Daniels followed, glancing at his watch. Nearly 9 p.m. They had been tracking for hours. He tried not to imagine what the cold night was doing to a barefoot toddler. Pine Hollow's autumns were brutal once the sun went down, temperatures could drop into the 40s, and the damp air clung to your skin like ice. Rex suddenly veered off the main deer path, pushing through a tangle of underbrush. Branches snapped under his weight, and Daniels ducked low to keep up. It was clear the scent was stronger here. They broke into a small clearing, moonlight pooling on the ground. The mist swirled lazily, revealing something pale lying in the dirt. Daniel's heart jumped. He hurried forward and knelt. A tiny pink sock. It was damp, the fabric chilled from lying in the dew. Daniels held it up for Rex to smell. The shepherd inhaled deeply, then jerked forward with renewed urgency. His tail gave one quick flick, his stride lengthened and his breathing picked up. The trail was hot now. Daniels recognized the signs. Rex's body low to the ground, ears locked forward, movements sharper. This wasn't a slow, methodical track anymore. This was the sprint of a hunter who knew the prey was near. They moved quickly, weaving between narrow gaps in the trees, crossing another shallow stream. Daniel stumbled on slick stones, nearly twisting his ankle, but kept going. Twice, Rex stopped to test the air, turning his head in slow arcs. Then, without warning, he bolted to the right, dragging Daniels down a slope carpeted with pine needles. The descent was steep, and Daniels half-slid the last few feet. At the bottom was a ravine. The walls rose steep on either side, funneling them forward. The air here was colder, damper. Daniels could hear the drip of water somewhere ahead. Rex froze. His head tilted, ears swiveling. Then Daniels heard it too, faint at first, almost lost in the sigh of wind through the trees. A sound so small and fragile it nearly didn't register. Crying. Daniel's chest tightened. He felt the adrenaline hit him like a wave. He crouched low, whispering, "You hear that, boy?" Rex didn't need to be told twice. His tail gave a single twitch before he launched forward, moving faster than he had all night. Daniel sprinted after him, heart hammering. The crying grew louder with each step. They were close, so close, that Daniels could almost see her in his mind, huddled, scared, waiting for someone to break through the darkness. And Rex was about to do exactly that. Rex bounded forward, weaving through the narrow ravine like water finding its path. His paws landed silently on the damp earth, every movement sure and deliberate. Daniels kept pace as best he could, his flashlight bouncing wildly with each stride. The crying was no longer faint, it was a thin, wavering wail, the kind that twists your stomach into knots. They rounded a bend in the ravine, and the beam of Daniel's light fell on a shape half hidden beneath the twisted roots of a fallen tree. Small. So. Lily, Daniels breathed. Rex slowed, his tail lowering, ears tilting forward in gentle curiosity. The little girl's tear-streaked face turned toward them. Her hair was tangled with leaves, her cheeks blotchy from cold and crying. She blinked at the sudden light and then whispered one shaky word. "Doggy." Rex stepped forward slowly, his body low, his head tilted in the soft, almost submissive way that dogs use with frightened children. He sniffed the air near her, then gave her tiny hand the lightest touch of his nose. Daniels dropped to his knees beside her. "Hey, sweetheart," he said, his voice breaking with relief. "We've been looking everywhere for you." Her lips were pale, and her little fingers were stiff with cold. She was barefoot, her toes red and raw. Daniels shrugged off his jacket and wrapped it around her, tucking it close. She whimpered softly, then pressed herself against him. Rex stayed planted beside them, a living barrier between Lily and the vast, dark forest. His ears flicked at every sound, his eyes constantly scanning. Daniels keyed his radio. "Dispatch, this is Officer Daniels. I have the child. She's alive. Repeat, she's alive." The reply came back almost instantly, the operator's voice thick with emotion. "Copy that, officer. Everyone's on their way." But Daniels knew the rescue wasn't over. They were miles from the nearest road, and Lily was too cold and weak to walk. As Daniels lifted her into his arms, Rex took 2 steps ahead and stopped, looking back. His eyes seemed to say, "Follow me. I'll take you home." Daniels adjusted his grip on Lily and nodded. "All right, partner. Lead the way." Rex began to move, his pace steady and measured, careful not to outdistance them. Every so often he'd glance back, checking that the precious cargo was still safe in Daniel's arms. The forest felt different now, less like an enemy, more like a path they were meant to cross. But Daniels knew it could still turn dangerous. The temperature was dropping fast and predators didn't always keep their distance. Still, with Rex at the front, guiding them step for step, Daniels felt something he hadn't felt all night. Hope. The forest was a maze of black silhouettes and silver mist. Daniels adjusted Lily in his arms, feeling the weight of her tiny body and the slow, steady rise and fall of her chest. She was exhausted, her eyes half closed, but she clung to his shirt with one cold little hand. Rex trotted ahead, his pace measured, every step deliberate. He wasn't just following a trail anymore, he was navigating the safest route back, avoiding steep climbs and unstable ground. Daniels trusted him completely. The first real obstacle came within minutes. The path narrowed between two steep ridges, and at the base, a stream had swollen from the week's rains into a fast-moving rivulet. In daylight, it would have been a minor crossing. In darkness, with a child in his arms, Daniels knew it could be treacherous. Rex waded in first, testing each step. The current tugged at his legs, but he pressed on, glancing back as if to say, "It's safe enough, follow me." Daniels stepped in, boots instantly filling with icy water. The current bit at his calves, pushing hard with every step. Halfway across, a rock shifted beneath his foot. He stumbled, tightening his hold on Lily. Before he could recover, Rex was at his side, pressing his sturdy shoulder against Daniel's leg. That steady pressure anchored him just enough to regain balance. Step by step, they reached the far bank, water dripping from them both. "Good boy," Daniels murmured, giving Rex a quick pat before moving on. The forest beyond the river was thicker, branches clawing at his jacket. Rex powered through, sometimes turning his head to check on them. The fog seemed to deepen here, curling low to the ground, but through it, Daniels began to notice faint glimmers of light, search party lanterns or maybe the glow of the road ahead. They were getting close. Then, just when relief began to creep in, a sound shattered the calm. A sharp crack from somewhere in the trees behind them. Daniel's muscles tensed. Coyotes again? Or something larger? Rex stopped dead, ears pricked, body angled toward the sound. He let out a deep bark, sharp and commanding, the kind of sound that claimed the ground they stood on. The forest fell silent. Whatever had been there slipped away without showing itself. With the danger gone, Rex pressed forward again, tail just high enough to signal confidence. Daniels followed, his boots sucking against the muddy ground. The lights ahead grew brighter, voices now distinct. He could make out shouts, searchers calling for Lily, their tones strained with hope. "Almost there, sweetheart," Daniels whispered to Lily, brushing her damp hair back from her forehead. Rex led them through the last line of trees, his head high, steps steady. Just beyond, the clearing opened, and the blinding glow of floodlights spilled over them. They had made it. The moment they stepped out of the trees, the night erupted in movement. Searchers rushed forward, their floodlights bouncing in the mist, voices calling out in disbelief. "Officer Daniels. Is that her?" Emily Carter broke from the crowd before anyone could stop her. Her coat flapped open as she ran, her boots barely finding the ground. "Lily," she screamed, her voice cracking. The little girl stirred at the sound, lifting her head weakly from Daniel's shoulder. "Mama?" she whispered. Emily reached them, tears streaking her face, and took Lily into her arms with a desperate, almost trembling strength. She rocked her back and forth, kissing her hair, her cheeks, her cold little hands. My baby, I thought I lost you." For a long moment, the crowd stood in silence, watching the reunion unfold under the pale glow of the lights. Even hardened searchers wiped at their eyes. Then Emily looked past Daniels, to Rex. The German shepherd stood just behind them, his fur still damp from the river crossing, his eyes calm but alert, as if still guarding his found charge. Emily crouched, holding Lily with one arm and reaching her other hand toward Rex. "Thank you," she said, her voice breaking. "You brought her back to me." Rex stepped forward and lowered his head so she could press her palm against his muzzle. Lily reached out too, her tiny fingers tangling in his fur. "Doggy," she murmured again, her voice small but certain. The crowd erupted in applause and relieved laughter, the tension of the night melting into joy. Paramedics checked Lily over. Mild hypothermia, a few scratches, nothing serious. Daniels stood nearby, watching Rex accept treats and head scratches from the volunteers. The shepherd's tail wagged slowly, but his eyes kept tracking Lily, as if he wasn't ready to let her out of his sight. By the time they returned to town, the story had already spread. Headlines the next morning read, "German Shepherd tracks missing toddler for 6 miles through forest. Photos of Rex sitting beside Lily, both wrapped in blankets, flooded social media. Comments poured in from across the country, praising the canine's bravery and the bond between man, dog, and child. 4 weeks afterward, Emily brought Lily to visit Rex at the station. Each time, the little girl would run to him with open arms, and Rex would sit patiently, allowing her to hug him until she was ready to let go. Daniels liked to joke that she was the only person in town allowed to tug his ears. Looking at them, Daniels knew this was more than just another successful search. It was proof of the quiet, unwavering courage that some animals carried in their hearts. A loyalty so fierce that 6 miles of darkness, danger, and cold couldn't break it. And as long as Rex had breath in his body, Daniels believed, there wasn't a force on earth that could keep him from bringing someone home. 6 miles. Through fog, predators, freezing water, and not once did Rex give up. Stories like this remind us that heroes come in all shapes, and sometimes they walk on 4 legs. If this rescue touched your heart, let me know in the comments. What's the bravest thing you've ever seen an animal do? And if you want more real-life stories of loyalty, courage, and the incredible bond between humans and animals, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Because next time, the hero might just be your own best friend.